Welcome to another week at DroneDJ. And this week we've got some new products for you from DJI that's not a drone. I also found a new drone that's called Everdrone, which I thought the design was super cool. And then another topic we discussed before from Flyability on indoor drones. They also just released a new lidar sensor. So those are the main stories we have for you this week. Let's start with DJI's new product, the Pocket 3. Let me bring up our story screen.
Our favorite little. This is used more than I for someone who's like anyone who's a hardcore videographer. I think this is a pain to see like actual videographers use this, but it is such also an extremely handy like camera. Like I have so I don't on the Space Sport team we have like a really like he's from Hollywood videographer on the team, and like I have a feeling he would absolutely cry if we ever wanted to use one of these things. Like he wants us to like we want to standardize on Sony and all that stuff. I feel like he would cry if it's like, oh, we're just gonna use the Pocket, just because like I don't know what it is, but it is a phenomenal like camera. I know two YouTubers who use these exclusively for when they're like running gunning pretty much, just because they're so easy and low profile.
Even just to compare this with GoPro, there are productions with different shots that are shot with GoPro. Like there's nothing wrong with using that class of either, for DJI was action cam, but even Pocket is along that same line, right? It's along that between around $500 as the base to start the start price, right?
Yeah.
And then, it's sort of expendable if you go with a bigger production, or it's good for social, for influencers, for vlogging. I'll share a story with you. So we had one summer we had an intern. I've had the Pocket since Pocket 1. So I have Pocket 1 and we also have the Pocket 2. So one summer we had an intern from an actual broadcast and production program. And a couple of the first shoots, we asked him just to do some behind the scenes coverage with our Pocket 2. 2 weeks later, he told his program manager that he quit. He didn't want the internship with us because we had all the fancy cameras, but he wasn't allowed to use them.
Typical videographer. I want to use the fancy stuff.
Yeah, how come I can't use that 8K camera? Well, maybe because you're an intern.
Maybe because it's behind the scenes content. We don't need 8K behind the scenes content.
Who's gonna edit it? Who's gonna process and edit it?
Who's gonna edit 8K ProRes RAW with no scratch audio? If you know videographers, most likely those cameras don't have audio.
I need to feel a certain level of trust with someone. Doesn't matter the position, right? Doesn't matter if you're intern or if you come in as a professional camera person. But if I'm allowing you to use my high-end gear, first I need like a good chunk of time to make sure I'm comfortable with you.
Yeah, but like even I think it also shows like if you can use this type of I want to say entry level camera. It is kind of an entry level camera. If you can use this and kind of like use it creatively and
it can give you professional footage.
It gives you professional footage, but also like if you're new, like you can use this, and that's like a good way of like testing you out. Like, how good are you? Here's a basic camera, try to make it look good. Or like a phone, like give them a phone, like try to make something look good.
And with production, at some level, your skills are important. Like your eye composition is important. But if you want to work on the video production side, photographers, you can you're more independent. You can work by yourself in your own style. But when it comes to like a video production, it's also can you do teamwork? Can you do teamwork? Like this is a perfect test.
Yeah. So let's talk about the little specs. I think it has a 1-inch sensor in this one this time. It's up from a 1.7-inch sensor from the Pocket 2. The biggest change to it, it has like a nice big, I think it's a 2-inch screen. I think it is. That swivels, so it can. You can swivel it. I think it's portrait, which like it's all flush with the handle, and then you can switch it portrait, and then portrait, and then it's like kind of like overhangs on the side. So it doesn't. I was hoping it would be like the camera would like rotate vertical, so it'd be like true vertical video. It doesn't do that. It just crops it down. But it's kind of like the Air 3 is better than doing it in post. Like it just does it automatically for you. It's kind of nice. It does D-Log M. Did you know that?
Yeah, it does D-Log M, which is the same as a
That's really awesome. Yeah. So, because one of the YouTubers that I know uses this for a lot of his interviews. Like he runs this. He ran the Pocket 2 with like the attachment to your phone.
Yep.
And then the Ronin 4D. And the Ronin 4D I knew would be running Apple ProRes RAW. And then you had the Pocket 2 shooting like just regular like MOVs, like no color correction like possible with it. And so it would be such a pain in the butt. So now they have D-Log M, so it's a little bit it's not gonna be as close, but at least you'll have some color correction
I'll tell you
capability.
what, if you really run a gun with stabilized camera platform like this, the
Mhm.
Ronin 4D versus let's say a Pocket class is at the end of the day, how do your arms feel?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he's just doing the Pocket. He has a videographer who's running the 4D
Yep,
right next to him, and it's kind of
yep.
funny to see like the two transition because they'll be in the same shot with each other sometimes in the interviews, and like it's just
I
complete.
wouldn't
It's the
I
biggest
wouldn't want to
brother.
be that person who's running with a Ronin 4D
These
for
are like these are
a
like
good
hour and a half
8 hour
long
day.
videos too. Like they're insane.
Yeah.
And that guy has amazing upper arm strength to be running a 4D. But this is kind of cool. The correlation that I made with this is that there is a little bit of like not leeway, but like between the drones and Pocket,
Because
mini,
Pocket is always the same class as the Mini in
the
terms of
camera.
yes.
Yeah. And so we saw when the original Pocket came out that had a 1/2.3 inch camera, 12 megapixels, and that pretty much was the same camera got put into the Mavic Mini and Mini 2.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same transition for the Pocket 2, the Mini 3, Mini 3, Mini 4 that had so the Pocket 2 was 1/1.7, and then the Mini 3 and 4 was 1/1.3.
Right.
But I think the 1 inch jump is kind of insane for a camera this size. It is pretty bulky. Like if you look at it in the image, it's not like a tiny little camera.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with the amount of weight loss that DJI has been doing over the, even between Mini 3 and Mini 4, that they've dropped a lot of weight so they can improve the obstacle avoidance.
Right.
I can totally see them trying to, drop more weight to fit that 1 inch sensor in. Because what are you gonna do after 1/1.3? Like you gotta go to 1 inch. Like that's if you're gonna bump all the specs.
Well, the
Like
challenge is
that's
also
the
is
next
that
step.
bleeding too much into the Air class.
Yeah, and this is where the Air is now kind of weird. Where it's the same camera, except for the dual ISO, whatever. But
Right.
it's pretty
The
much.
zoom and the regular camera
And then
sensor.
you have the zoom, you have the dual ISO. There's room for improvement, I think, in there totally. Like I think there's room for like the Air and the Mini as long if they have the same sensor, but like or the same like camera specs, I guess you can say, as long as there's like enough on the Air that make it worth it.
Right.
Of course, like I think we'll definitely see like more blurring of the lines between the Mini, the Air, and the Mavic like easily, just because like I think we're just getting to a point where the upgrades are going to get pretty
Well, that's the same
iterative.
thing. If you look at iPhone right now, to go from, let's say 14 to 15, how much of technology upgrade is there, right? Or is it just
Yeah.
more improving some of the user experience, some a little higher processing power or faster processing power, etc. We're getting to the same stage with drone upgrades for DJI models. Is you can't ask too much. It's no longer a generational upgrade, right?
Yeah. I think what was a year and a half upgrade between the 3 and the 4, right?
Yeah, about a
Um
year, 3 months. Yeah.
yeah, I could totally see at least for the Mini. I think the Air and the Mavic would be more like generational upgrades, I think, because it's just you can sit with the Air 3 for a while and have it still be
Yeah.
great. But like the Mini generational upgrades, I think makes a lot of sense. Is that's your base consumer product, every year and a half, you get a new product, with a little bit less weight, a little bit more battery life, a little bit better
I can't
camera.
tell you how many people are still flying the Mini 2.
Yeah, I mean, like the Mini. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Mini 2. The Mini 2 did 4K 30, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you still
And if
4K
you
is
only use it
still.
occasionally, like if you only use it occasionally, you just feel like it's not like a phone you use every day. So
Yeah,
every year or two, you upgrade it, you don't feel too bad.
yeah.
But if
If you
it's a
use it every
drone,
day, yeah, you'll upgrade every time. But if you don't use it every day, yeah, you can skip a generation. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
totally. So I guess my my guess for the Mini 5 would be a 1 inch camera sensor put on it, but pretty much the same body.
hmm
Just reduced more weight to be able to put a bigger camera in there, pretty much, and
right.
then everything else is the same, like they did with the Mini 3 to 4, where they just dropped more weight and added better optical avoidance.
And personally, I like Pocket. I like the Pocket lineup. Just comparing to when I had to use either the phone with, either Osmo Mobile or something like that. It's not the same ergonomics. With Pocket, it just fits really well in your hand when you need to move around, and it's not as
Yeah.
bulky, right?
I missed the Osmo Pro. You remember that?
Really?
The real big one, right? The
Yeah.
bigger brother of this one. I wish they would have come out a second
It
generation of
was
that.
too. You know what? To me, it was too bulky.
I think it has a purpose. I think a bigger one, like if they would have put like a micro four thirds camera in there, I think it would have a purpose. It would be
Just
that
to me, I would
intermediate between the
either go
Pocket and the
big
4D.
or go Pocket.
Yeah, right now you either have a Pocket or you have a 4D, and I think there's a psychological, I think, change in there too.
Right.
Because one of the YouTubers I have, he has like 500,000 subscribers, and he has the ability to show up to he does a bunch of stuff with whiskey and like hunting for bottles in different cities. And so he can show up to a place that he has the ability to show up with like a nice big camera and get really nice video quality with lights and like walk around all this stuff. But like if he shows them to a store, people don't want him there. Like they're gonna ask for his permit, they're gonna ask for like permission, like written consent, all the stuff that would go into a professional video set.
Yeah.
But if he just shows up with a Pocket, like you don't need.
No one asks.
I'm just like a little YouTuber who needs just vlogging. Don't worry about me. But if and then if you show up with a 4D, that's way too much. I think there's like an intermediate where like I can show up somewhere, I can use it. The person goes, oh, this person's not an amateur. The person's like semi-professional. He has a bigger camera.
All depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, I don't know if that would sell. I don't know if that sells. I'm not a business person. I'm an idea guy, not a business person. So I don't know if that will sell. But at least for me, I think I would kind of like
that's
something.
The same thing as the Air class.
Yeah.
There's the in between, the hybrid version, right?
Yeah, because X Dynamics, I don't know, we haven't talked to them a lot, and there's not a lot coming out of them, but they pretty much took like their drone, which is kind of like a redo of the Phantom, but in like
I remember the X Dynamics.
Yeah, and they took their camera and just put on a gimbal, hand gimbal, pretty much, and it's interchangeable lenses and some micro four thirds.
That's what we used to do with Freefly and Movi, the gimbal on it, right?
Yep. Yeah, like I really liked that CES when I saw them my first time there. They weren't there the second year. I hope they're back this year, which hopefully I get to go too.
Well, let me show you another drone I saw. I just saw the picture and I said to myself, that is one good looking drone.
A very good looking drone.
Yeah.
You said it looked like the Phantom, kind of like a big brother of the Phantom.
But you know what? It's better. It's slimmer. It seems like a more streamlined design, and it's a hexacopter, I believe. So from the look of it, it's got six arms.
Yeah,
it's got a parachute built in.
Nice.
And I said that looks like a little fan on either the gimbal.
That must be the payload or something, right?
Yeah, it just I don't know what is it. It just everything together like this really caught my eye. This is something I really want to test and see how it works.
I'm wondering like what I saw this come out. I didn't read into it, so I'm wondering what the use cases are for medical.
It says it's more for critical first response, especially.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think like it's not organ transplant. So that doesn't make right. That's not.
No.
It's more for like first aid.
Let's see.
Is it like getting first aid material to a scene before paramedics get there?
And so, identify and advise. So it's aimed at the scouting basically. So it's going to identify and advise the best treatment according to the emergency situations.
Okay, so interesting. So I'm wondering now in the future we might see problems where like police drones interfere with like paramedic drones and firefighter drones. And, like I for a city, I would see this would probably be used by the fire department because they have paramedics on their staff.
Right.
And so like you would, if there's a large scene, a fire, paramedics being out there, paramedics and have a drone for like a large car crash.
Mm-hmm. How do they?
And then also like police will want, because I know here in Wisconsin, the state patrol, they use drones for car crashes for like mapping. They map the whole car crash thing. So it's
called post accident scene reconstruction.
Yep. So they do that a lot. And so like this would be like more like during versus after, but also like where would. Interesting. We interested to see like how the different agencies, if there's like you have private paramedics like Bell, and then you have the city, and then you have law enforcement, like their drones, and how you coordinate between those agencies or drones.
I wonder if it's going to be similar. I'm a little bit of a fan of reading like crime novels frantic
Okay.
mode. So they have sequence, right? Like who goes in first,
Yeah.
who goes to a scene first. Like they have a specific sequence. So I wonder if they would just establish a sequence.
Yeah, and like who, well, it's just like what type of scene it is, and who takes over command like of the drones. So like if it's a car crash, would it be fire
or who
department?
starts, right?
It would be.
Starts going.
Is it whoever shows up first, or is it police usually shows up first for most?
So
things.
my guess, for us, it's fire who shows up first. But
it depends on the city. Yeah.
So my guess would be its priority. Like for example, for us on the operation side, when we write the emergency procedures, it's always a person's life comes first, right? So whoever is there and able to render assistance, that's always the first goal. So I guess it's whoever is able to render assistance first. And if that means sending a drone up to take a look at conditions, depending on, especially if they have to lift the different parts of the car, if someone is actually crashed in there, right? So, but I'm not the expert.
No, I remember because it's listen, to the county I live in, each city or most cities have their own, they'll have a drone unit. I think like the city I live in is looking to train like 4 units, I think, to become drone pilots. And then the city next to me has 1 drone pilot. And then the sheriffs have like a whole drone team, like full-time drone team.
Right.
But they operate separately of each other. But the county as a whole has a whole other program where like the cities cooperate together. They have a whole different policies and a list of policies of how they cooperate. So it's very regularly, a sheriff will be helping out another city.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I'm wondering now, is there's like, if we get to where if every city has their own drone unit, and now every city law enforcement has their own drone unit, every city fire department has their own drone unit. You have private paramedics having their drone units. Do you just get to a point where, okay, we no longer have drone units per agency, we have the county drone unit, and they're their own, they're like just part of the sheriff's or the part of something else, and they're separated from each other? Because I think airspace, I think it'll just get too.
So there is what
muddy.
we think would be nice. There's, okay, that would be nice. Versus, okay, all the toys from different departments want to have their own toys to play with.
At least you have one agency who's like in charge. Like, every different agency has their own drone unit, but you have like a parent unit that like oversees.
You know what? If you could sort out to get all the different agencies and jurisdictions and everyone to agree. I'll tell you right now, that's like $1 billion management consulting company's worth right there.
Yeah, no, that's
forget about Kirk's, agriculture drone business. Forget about any of that. Like if you can just get all the agencies to agree together, then I think there can be Kirk creating the world peace right there.
Yeah, it's interesting because the county I live in, there's obviously underlying politics, everything, but they cooperate pretty well when they need to. So it's just like, I wonder, like, just there's policies somewhere that could probably be updated to be like that.
Well,
but also, I'm coming up with policies to issues that don't exist yet, so we'll see.
I'll tell you, one of the goals, when I remember when we were starting business, I was saying, if one of the days, if I can say money is no longer an issue or a concern, I would try to buy an island and try to build my ideal society on how I think everyone should work together. And let's see how that works.
That'd be great. One day.
One day.
When I win the $2 billion lottery.
Maybe that'll be a Kickstarter project.
Yeah, Kickstarter.
Found E-Face Private Island.
Fun says perfect society.
Okay, moving along the line. The last story we have this week is Flyability's new lidar payload. So personally, I've been at Flyability's demos. These units look really cool. I mean, these are indoor or confined space. Actually, what they market towards is called confined space. So confined space, let's say tunnels, especially in mines and in different areas, and in indoors, let's say large tower structure, etc. So these are protected with a cage. The drone can bounce into different things. Now, so here's the concept, and it sounds like one of the sci-fi stories I read when I was a kid. If you go inside the tunnel, you don't have GPS. Also, if you go inside the tunnel, imagine the signal block between your controller to the drone.
Yep.
So technically speaking, you have very limited command and communications to the drone. So ideally, you want the drone to go in, make its own decisions, because all it is before like someone goes in, they want to make sure it's safe. They want to understand the different things in there.
Yep.
So the drone should go in, make decision to fly based on the tunnel structure, map everything, comes back with that information. So to do that, you put a lidar, which is laser-based sensor, because there's also limited light in the tunnel or confined space. So you can't just send a drone with obstacle avoidance based on light. There's no light. So you send in a drone with lidar, so that's laser-based, and the drone has a AI processor on there. So the lidar is detecting the distance, and that processor is mapping a 3D map as the drone goes along. So the drone is making decision based on the distance it detects to different areas, and then it's navigating itself through the whole space, and then follow the breadcrumbs to come out. And then you have a 3D mapping of inside, all the calculations, everything. Does that sound cool?
That explains the price tag.
We were guessing the price at the beginning.
I guess I looked at it and I'm like, okay, it's indoor, it's industry specific, $10,000. And no, it's not 10,000. How much is it?
No, it's close to 60, and probably different sensors, add-ons.
I'm sure it can go well up from there.
Yeah, you'd be looking at close to 100 from there.
It makes a lot of sense now why it costs so much.
But that sounds really cool, right?
How have you flown these? Have you done demoed these?
So I was at a couple of their demos, and I tried it. But the demo wasn't a whole solution. This is also part of what I don't like going to see equipment demo, and all they do is take off with the equipment. I want to
take off and hover, do a 360 and land.
You're telling me it does all the cool things. How about doing demo at a location and do it in real time? That's what I want to see. But at that demo specifically, I wasn't able to see it. There were some videos on Flyability doing it like live with different clients. So they're going strong, right, with version 3 right now, Helios 3, and new payload, etc. So they must be delivering results. Personally, I haven't seen it sounds cool. I haven't seen this whole flow. Right.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the trust level is between letting this fly by itself and Skydio. Letting Skydio fly by itself, because it seems it's Skydio's doing optical.
I don't think Skydio can do it, because Skydio, I believe, is visual-based sensors.
It's all visual versus lidar.
Skydio has lidar. You need lidar.
It'll just be interesting to see how they compare and what your trust level is as a pilot between the two.
Yeah. Right. But let's say for tunnels, for caves, etc., especially if you're rescuing or after, let's say, mining after collapse, you don't know what the situation is inside, right? This will still be much safer than sending someone in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, those are all the stories we have for you this week. We'll see you back here next Friday.